Hey, everybody, this is TJR. I've mentioned this before on this channel, but in case you're new here or didn't see my previous videos on this topic, I used to be a voting member of the Recording Academy, which meant I voted every year on the Grammy Awards. Superfan was a voting member too. But some years back, I let it lapse for two reasons. One, I just kind of stopped caring. Two, I was probably at the lowest financial point in my life, and I couldn't afford the renewal because it does cost money to renew your membership every year. And so I just let it go. Some years later, I did kind of half-assed look back into possibly rejoining. And they basically told me I had to kind of prove my worthiness. And I never responded. I was just like, I don't care enough. But in spite of all that, I still always watch the Grammy Awards. And the reason is because of the live performances. There would oftentimes be unique live performances, unique team ups that you just couldn't see anywhere else and never would again. I always felt it was worth watching for that. And I want to pause here and say something. I know that it's kind of considered hip to be very negative towards the Grammy Awards. And I understand where some of that negativity comes from because I used to be extremely negative of the Grammy Awards. I used to always just say they're a popularity contest. You know, whoever is selling the most, that's who's going to win. But when the chance to become a voting member came my way, I took it because I thought the only way to affect real change is from the inside. And over the years, when I was a voting member, I would sometimes be proud of my fellow voters, and sometimes I'd be embarrassed by what got chosen. But getting back to the point I was trying to make, I know that it is sometimes just an easy way to show your hip by saying, oh, the Grammys are irrelevant, blah, 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 blah. And I guess I get that. I don't guess I get that. I get that. You know, like I said, I've been there. But I'll be honest. I don't watch the Grammy Awards for the awards. And I don't think you should either. I don't think anybody should. The real reason to watch is, again, the live performances. That's the real reason. Just like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, people get so emotionally invested in that. And to me, the best thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not who wins. It's, once again, the live performances, because over the years, we've gotten some really great live performances and some really unique live performances, collaborative live performances that, again, you're just not going to get anywhere else and you're never going to get it again. And that's the reason I think to watch these telecasts, to watch these shows is for that. And in fact, oftentimes, back when I used to watch broadcast TV and had a DVR, I would DVR the show. And by and large, I'd be fast forwarding through all the awards and presentations, maybe occasionally pausing for something specific, but mostly just watching the performances. And more often than not on this channel, I would give my reaction to the awards, but always the emphasis was on the performances. So something happened during COVID. I stopped watching. I don't know what it was. For some reason, I just didn't want to watch the award show. And this last weekend's presentation, I totally missed it. Superfan came to me a Monday morning and said to me, hey, did you know the Grammys were last night? I was like, no, I didn't. And we just like laughed and said, man, we are bad ex-voters. We are bad ex-members. We didn't even know it was on. I understand, though, that it did get moved around a bit and got delayed because of COVID. So I decided, hey, I should watch it. So I, downloaded the CBS streaming app to see if I could. And yes, I could stream it. There were going to be commercials, which I could not fast forward through. So it's like, okay, well, let's go ahead. And I decided, yeah, I will watch it. But otherwise, I fast forwarded through almost all of the award presentations, because like I said, it just doesn't matter to me. But I wanted to watch the performances. And I have to say that, first of all, I was embarrassed. Opening the show was a band called Silk Sonic, which features Bruno Mars, among others, in this band. And they played this song called 777. And I thought this was one of the most killer songs that I've heard in a while. I thought this song just kicked ass. And I was like, these guys have been around for a little while. They've got an album out, and I didn't even know. And I love a lot of well, first of all, I love old soul, Motown, funk, R&B. I love all that stuff. And I love a lot of the retro and neo soul, retro soul like Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, neo soul like Jill Scott and Leon Bridges. But I didn't know about this group that was basically, bringing back, 70s soul music. And I heard this song, 777, and I just was blown away. And I felt embarrassed that I'd never even heard of this band that's been out for a while. So it's like, after I watched this performance, I was like, wow, okay, I have to go and get this album, and I have to go listen to it. So that's on my list of things. So opening performance, outstanding. Really loved it. After that, Olivia Rodrigo, Driver's License. Now, this is a song that I had heard previously. I thought it was a pretty good song, not a great song, but pretty good. But this live performance, first of all, I felt myself liking it better in the way it was presented than hearing it previously. And I also really liked the whole staging of it. I think that, that's another nice thing about the Grammy Awards is that sometimes you can do unique staging. Now, I don't like lip syncing. I don't like when you do canned music in these things. But I don't think it was canned. I feel pretty confident that it was live. And I really liked this live version. And I really liked the way it was presented, the staging of it. I thought it was really evocative. And perhaps it just made me appreciate the song more. And maybe if I listen to it again, I'm going to feel a little bit differently about it. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It was pretty good. After that, we have BTS. And all I'm going to say is lip sync. That's all. Let's move on. Lil Nas X. I know who he is, of course, but I've not really heard much. All I'm going to say is I just wasn't into it. Just not my thing. I'm clearly not the audience for that. Next, we have Billie Eilish. I don't think I've heard this song before. A while back, Robert and I just thought we'd react to the top hits that were on the Spotify chart that week. And we listened to a bunch of them. And Billie Eilish was there, and hers was the only one we really liked. It was the only one that we thought, hey, this is pretty good. And I've been meaning to, for some time now, to listen to her first album. I know there's a new one out. But I did occasionally hear a single or two, an advanced single from her current album, which not listened to, that I thought were pretty good. I don't think I've ever heard this song, but I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the opening with just the simple acoustic guitar and her voice. Thought that was really good. I don't know if the studio version sounds like this. I equally enjoyed the second half when it built up into having the whole band. Again, I like the presentation, the staging around this. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing cool staging. Some people feel it distracts. I have no problem with it. I thought the staging was very cool. I kind of wondered if the rainfall, I know it's not real rainfall, of course, but I wondered if it was actual real water or if it was some kind of projection effect, because there's all kinds of unique, very cool effects we can do with projection now. If you ever go to any of the Disneyland parks, a lot of their newer rides and even a lot of their older rides now combine projection with the audio animatronics and the other effects that they use. Especially the older rides now will include a certain amount of projection effects that they couldn't do back when those rides were created. But I really enjoyed that effect. I don't know if it was a projection or not, but if anybody knows, let me know. But really well done. Now, again, I don't too often watch much of the actual bits in between the performances. I did, however, stop to watch Bonnie Raitt and Joni Mitchell introduce Brandy Carlile. Now, Brandy Carlile, love her. I have a number of her albums. I think she's really great. This song that she did on the awards, I've of course heard it before. How do I say this? I think that song is okay. I don't think it's the best song she's ever done. I don't think it's that great, but I think that Brandy Carlile is just so great that she elevates this song. You know, her and the rest of the band, but I just think it's just she elevates it. I know that not long ago, country music just kind of adopted her. She was very much has always been part of the Americana, genre. But after her song, "The Joke," was released, they just kind of adopted her. I guess she did a performance and she became adopted by country music, which I think is great. You know, if country music radio is playing her and giving her more of an audience, I think that's great. And but I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, I mean, she's fantastic. I just think the song is just kind of okay, but it's elevated by her performance. Next was Chris Stapleton. I can't say it. Chris Stapleton. Never really have I heard too much from him. I don't follow modern country. I probably should, because there is a lot more good new country music coming out. For a long time, I was very turned off by modern country because it was just such watered down rock and roll. I mean, rock and roll with all the edge and soul taken out. That was my exposure to modern country, but that was decades ago. This genre has been around for some time. Since then, there has been a lot better stuff that's come out. A lot of it returning back to its roots. There is some of that still, that awful, crappy, watered down stuff. It's still there, of course, and I do hear it sometimes when I walk into different, stores and shopping areas, and I'm just like, oh gosh. Whew. But I have to admit, never heard this song that he did before, but it was really good, emotional, evocative performance, and of a really good emotional song. But I also have to say that back in the 70s, a song like this would have been rock. It really would have been. The line right now between, country and rock is sometimes very blurred at this point. And blues. I should also mention blues too. But I really enjoyed that particular performance, and I enjoyed that song. Really good. I should go listen to more of his material. That's another good thing about watching these telecast shows, is that hopefully you get to see these music artists at their very best. And hopefully it inspires you to dig a little deeper, listen to a little bit more. After that, Lady Gaga. This was an utterly, completely enjoyable performance. And I remember back when Lady Gaga first started to really become a big thing and she first started charting. And I'll be honest, I thought the music that she was releasing was just some of the most awful, god-awful music that I'd ever heard. But in spite of how awful I thought the music was, I also could tell that she really had talent. And I thought to myself, I think she is deliberately releasing really crummy music, because that's how to get on the charts. And I know that sounds really cynical. I know I sound like an old man saying that. Well, I am an old man, but at the time that she was hitting it big, it just seemed like in order to chart, you had to release just the most worst, lowest common denominator garbage that you could. And I felt it certainly fit in. And then a few years later, after she was charted, had herself established, she got up on stage, and I believe it was at the Grammys. It might have been at the Oscars. I can't remember which one. But she performed a tribute to Julie Andrews. And she was just amazing. And it was like, there we go. There's the talent. she always was really talented. I was right. She just was pretending. She was just putting out crummy music so she could chart. And ever since then, she's never gone back to the music that made her. Have you noticed that? She's never gone back to it, to that style, that just horrible, synthetic, artificial, just unpleasant, artificial sound that she made herself with. And I think one of the indicators back then that I knew she was talented is that at one point I heard her do one of those awful songs, but she played it for real. She sat at a real piano, she played, she sang, and there was a real band, versus just that horrible, just ear deafening production that was on the original recording. And of course I knew, okay, yeah, she's talented. She just has to do what she has to do to, chart, to get on the radio, but she's never gone back to it now when she established herself. Anyways, though, but thoroughly enjoyed performance. After the death of Taylor Hawkins, Robert and I, of course, we talked about his passing and about his legacy. And we brought up the fact that the Foo Fighters were prior to this tragedy, scheduled to play the Grammy Awards, and we wondered if they would still play, or as a tribute. And I had predicted that they would, and I was wrong. They didn't. Hey, that's fine. It's probably, I don't know, either decision I guess works, but maybe it was better that they didn't. So I watched there was a tribute to Taylor Hawkins, and then of course I always watch the musical tributes that they do for all of those in the music business who have passed away, because you should. And also, sometimes you may not be aware of who's passed away, and it's always good to recognize these talents. The one thing that bothered me is that at times the camera focused more on the three, and I want to state this, absolutely, positively excellent vocalists who sang the medley of songs while you saw images of who passed away. The camera too often focused away from those who passed away to these three singers. And I don't want to diss them in any way, because it's not their fault. They were all fantastic. But the primary thing is who's passed away. And if you're not showing us that, or you're cutting that short to show us the singers, you're missing the point. And so that was the only thing that bothered me. Once again, that's not the fault of the vocalists. Just prior to watching, Robert called me and we talked a little bit. And I told him, yeah, I didn't watch the Grammys. He says, oh yeah, he watched it the night of. And he told me about Jon Batiste and said, yeah, he was really great. He said, he opens with this classical piano piece, and then he gets up and he gives this amazing soul performance, amazing soul vocals. And he was absolutely right. Absolutely right. And again, I loved the staging, the multicolored staging, the very kind of almost like you've stepped into a cartoon. That's what it looked like he had stepped into a cartoon. Brilliant. After that, Justin Bieber, who opens, playing the piano, and then goes into a song that it wasn't unpleasant to listen to. I wondered, though, if the studio version of this track sounded like the live version, because I'm guessing the live version has all of that artificial, not the live version, I'm sorry. I'm guessing the studio version has all of that artificial, computerized production that so many modern pop songs have, and certainly a lot of his music has had, because played live with real musicians, hey, pretty good. I thought, it's certainly much more pleasing to listen to. In case you haven't figured it out, I don't like the modern computerized artificial production that's clearly not real instruments. I just don't like it. I'm not saying there isn't a place for it musically. I think you can sometimes do things with it. But there has to be that human element, and I think just too much of it lacks that human element. End of rant on that. But the song was constantly getting bleeped, and I'm guessing that's because of profanities. So it's like I never really got a chance to see if this song was good because it was constantly getting bleeped, and there would be these moments of silence where they were bleeping it out, and they'd come back in, and it was just like, okay, I'm not even going to listen to this. I'm just going to fast forward. But yeah, should have done a different song. If you're going to have these profanities, I'm guessing it's because of profanities. If you're going to do that, should have just had a different song. After that, we have a performance by Her, Her. And I have heard Her before. Sorry, I'm not trying to make puns. I just can't help it with when I'm just trying to speak here. I'm talking about her. But I did it again. But of course, this was a great performance. This just killed. She's a really good drummer, very good guitarist, good lead player, good vocalist. Loved every bit of it. I loved the bit with her and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Loved the bit with her and Lenny Kravitz. The part with her and Lenny Kravitz was, to me, the first time the whole evening that it really just rocked hard. Very, very cool. And I've known about her in the past, but for some reason, I think she fell off my radar. There's so many artists out there, so many good ones. And I remember hearing about her and thinking, hey, she's really good, but I need to go back and listen to her again and just try to rediscover some of her stuff here. For whatever reason, she fell off my radar. Not a good thing, but watching this performance made me realize, oh yeah, you've really got to go to Tidal and look her up and do some listening. Carrie Underwood doing a song called, I think it was called Ghost Story. The song was okay, but it didn't do a whole lot for me. And then, of course, closing the show, a country artist whom I've not heard of, Brothers Osborne. And wow, this is really cool. Again, in the 70s, what they played, it would have been rock, maybe a little country edge, but it's mostly rock. And I think it's kind of just a thing that rock, blues, and Americana have a better chance of surviving right now if they just kind of crossbreed with country, because country music has a whole terrestrial radio infrastructure for new music that rock doesn't have, that blues doesn't have. There's this infrastructure of radio, terrestrial radio, and of course that crosses over into streaming too. But I thought that was really good, and it's like, okay, I've got to go check them out a little more, listen to more, see if there's more music like this. Very cool technical playing, even some elements of progressive rock within it too as well. And so the great way to close the night. They were the other act after her and Lenny Kravitz, after their performance. Brothers Osborne, they were the other act that rocked really well, and of course, pretty much everybody was really good. Like I said, there were a few things that I just wasn't into. BTS, not a bad song, I guess, but lip syncing, and of course, the Carrie Underwood song, not a bad song, but just wasn't doing that much for me. I don't think there was any lip syncing going on there, of course, but just not really appealing to me. And the Grammys, I know, have always frowned on lip syncing, and it's something that I know that they have always avoided and don't want as part of their show. I'm assuming they still stand by that. There is one other performance that I want to talk about that was in the middle of all this. And this was the musical performance by John Legend, who performed very well, along with a musician and a poet, both Ukrainian, who have escaped the Ukraine. I think the best thing about this was the fact that it gave the Ukrainian president a platform to speak. What is happening right now is just awful. And I think the whole world has a stake in what happens here. Because if he defeats the Ukraine, he's not going to stop there. He's not going to be happy. He's going to want more. And he has to be stopped. And I know the US and other countries, they are trying to help in different ways. I'm sure that the United States and other countries are probably helping in ways that are covert, that we're not hearing about and may not hear about for quite some time. And I'm sure that's going on. I hope that the entire world, the free world, can help more. And I think the best thing about this was giving a platform for the Ukrainian president and also awareness about organizations that are there to help the refugees and help the Ukraine. Unfortunately, the Grammys I don't think it drew in a lot of numbers. I understand in the past couple of years, its numbers have been dropping. People just aren't paying attention. I get that. But I think that these shows, these telecasts, at least from what I saw tonight, and I think that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that they're worth watching for performances. And I think that's how you should look at them. I don't care who wins these things. I really don't anymore. I care about the musical performances and hopefully being exposed to new artists who I hadn't heard about yet. There were also a number of musical artists who their performances were outdoors on the rooftop. And these performances, they would start and then they'd cut to commercial and they'd come back and have them finish. I just thought that was just very weird. And I don't know. That really rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, I'm glad these artists got exposure because some of them are genres that generally don't get to be on the Grammys, like bluegrass or faith-based, music. They don't get to be on these shows. So I guess it's better than nothing, but I don't know. It bugged me. And yeah, I mean, if you hate the Grammys, I understand. But I think, again, look at it as a way to check out live performances, even artists you're not interested in. I think it's good to check out live performances. You never know what you might discover. Anyways, those were my thoughts on the performances. Let me know yours. I'm glad I came back and I'm glad I watched, and I look forward to watching in future years. And as always, if you like what I do here, be sure to click subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. And a big shout out to my powerful and mighty Patreon supporters who are helping me make more videos. If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter and see your name in the credits like you're seeing now, please go to patreon.com/TJR the original. And Patreon supporters do get early access to select videos, and they get exclusive videos that no one else gets. Thank you for watching. And everybody, I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.